Good afternoon, everyone. We are back with another episode of Tech Talk 360, unveiling one bite at a time. Today, we have a very special guest on the show. It's none other than Kushlani Silva. She is a tech marketing consultant, fractional CMO, and a, you know, someone who is quite good in the marketing industry. How are you doing today, Kushlani?
I'm doing good, Rasa. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for having me.
Let's just jump off to the intro. Who is Kushlani Silva?
Right, so I'll start off talking a little bit about my professional journey. I've been in marketing for the better part of my career now, so closing in on 14 plus years in tech marketing, actually. Before that, I was doing a little bit of work on the customer side, customer services, customer support, and so on. But the majority of my work has been focused in marketing and in technology marketing. So I started off at WSO2, spent a lot of time there, close to 11 years there, moved out to start my own consulting practice during the peak of COVID towards the latter part of 2020. And I did that because at the time, the environment for startups and even scale-ups in Sri Lanka was really good. And while I felt that these companies had the necessary support on the technical front, there was always something lacking in marketing. And while the need for marketing was felt, there was really not a lot of guidance that you could get at the time. So I spent 2 years as a consultant working with startups and scale-ups, from product companies to service companies, helping them figure out what their marketing strategies were, go to market, helping build brands and so on. Went back into the corporate world, spent another 2 years at Millennium IT, building up their marketing team and setting up the marketing function. And right now, what I'm doing is something that stems off of the concept of fractional marketing, which is a fractional CMO and a fractional head of marketing service, which I'll go into the details as the conversation goes along. And I'll explain a little bit about what it is and why I got into it and so on. That's my journey from a career and a professional point of view. Aside of that, just like everybody else, I like to travel. I really like my coffee. I think it's probably one of the most mandatory parts of my life that keeps me going. And I'm also into fitness because I think anyone who's in tech, well, now if you think about it, every industry is really stressful, but tech has a particularly different flavor of stress. So I spend a lot of time focusing on my fitness and health as a means of alleviating stress and really kind of keeping me sane. Yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Quite a long journey, and some great turns from there as well. So, yeah.
Definitely.
So, something new to me as well, and I'm pretty sure it's new to the viewers as well. It's just the term fractional CMO. Why don't you just give a small insight on the term and that the CMO parts that you mentioned in the journey throughout?
Sure. So essentially, if I were to put it very simply, if you take the two words like fractional and CMO, so everybody knows who a CMO is. It's a chief marketing officer or a head of marketing, somebody who takes on the leadership of the entire marketing function of any organization. So a fractional CMO is somebody who still can do that, provide the same level of strategic input, insight, build a team, help you put everything together. But you are taking that person's time or portioning that person's time on a fractional basis, which means that they are not sitting in-house as part of your headcount. They are not really on your payroll, but they work as a third-party entity, still providing the same set of guidance that I was talking about earlier and really helping to streamline marketing functions regardless of whatever state that they are in. And although it's a concept that is not widely known in Sri Lanka and even in most parts of Asia, when I was doing my research before getting into this, I noticed that in the US, in those parts of the world, it is very heavily adopted. Not just fractional CMOs, you also get fractional CFOs. And that's something that's a little unheard of because a financial arm of a company is not something that anybody really would be comfortable outsourcing, right? Marketing, I can understand, even though there's also a little bit of hesitation there. But I was also surprised to see that there are fractional CFOs out there. There are fractional CCOs, chief customer officers, and of course, fractional CMOs as well. And I think a couple of months ago, when I was doing research, there were a certain section of companies that were surveyed, and about 60% said that they would be willing to onboard a fractional CMO and consume their services. And why organizations would choose to do this would be for a variety of reasons. And these reasons can depend based on the industry that you're in, based on your journey as a company, based on your internal challenges and resources, your internal structures, and so on. But one of the main reasons companies opt to go for fractional CMOs is, one, to be able to save on costs, because if you're a startup, for example, in tech, I'll take the examples of tech because that's where I'm familiar with. If you're a startup, you might really need a lot of input on the marketing front. Everything from how do you build your brand, to how do you put together all of your assets for sales of a partner enablement, how do you set up your digital presence, how do you do all of those things. So you will need that input and you need that support. But as a startup, you might not have the resources to pay a full-time CMO salary. So what do? You still need this input, but you have certain internal constraints. So what a lot of companies try to do is they try to get a junior marketing person in-house and get the whole gamut of things covered from this junior marketing person, who will probably have maybe an year or two's experience. And the pitfall there is that this particular person also does not have anybody to go to for input or insight or for counsel in general. So in situations like this, fractional CMOs greatly help, because you can still have a streamlined, agile organization internally, but it doesn't come at the cost of not being able to access the resources that you need at the time that you need them. So if I were to sum it up, I think fractional marketing as a concept is accepted, right? If I talk to, 9 out of 10 technology companies in Sri Lanka, they'd have some portion of their marketing support coming from outside the organization. It could be a content writer, it could be a graphic designer, it could be a web developer, it could be a campaigns manager, anything. But the reluctance comes with having a senior resource or a senior person who's essentially meant to lead a team sitting outside an organization. But I think given the direction companies want to go and how they want to be agile and still get things done, this fractional model is something that will go a long way in helping that. As a concept is happening quite a bit already in Sri Lanka. Maybe nobody really calls it fractional marketing, but if you speak to 9 out of 10 tech companies, you'd see that roles from content writing to campaign management to social media management to website design to graphic design are all basically sourced from outside the company. It's just that the hesitance and the reluctance comes in when you have to get a person who is typically meant to lead a team to not sit within the company and work from outside, because there can be so many challenges and questions that might come up that I'll get into as the conversation proceeds. So just to summarize, fractional marketing and particularly the fractional CMO role is meant to help organizations stay agile with their budgets and with their headcount and still have the access and not have to forego strategic marketing leadership and input. So it's helping you get the best of both worlds, essentially. I'm sure there'll be many questions about it, but hopefully I can cover some of them.
So, Kushlani, like you mentioned, marketing in the tech industry is something that is really important, nowadays, and for the startups and even the big companies. So, what do you say about the common misconceptions or challenges that marketing in this space and in this industry for the tech companies be like? What do you generally see as challenges that they face in this space?
Sure. So I'll speak about the challenges from different, I'll first speak about some of the misconceptions also from different angles. So I know the misconception I'm going to talk about now is a legitimate one, because I had the same misconception as well, that tech marketing is very difficult. that it's complicated, it's difficult, it's not fun, it's not as energetic as you would like it to be. So as a result, a lot of people who are in other forms of marketing, I'm seeing this changing, which I think is very positive. But a lot of people, marketers who are in other industries are very hesitant to join tech, thinking that it'll be a little difficult for them to catch on and, get things going. I will admit that it is different because if you look at if you go back into standard, marketing mix sort of principles, the marketing mix for a services company or for an FMCG would vary significantly to the marketing mix for tech, right? Tech would be a lot to do with content, with certain types of events, with thought leadership, and so on. So because of that, I agree that there is a bit of a learning curve. Okay, so I will start. I'll first speak about one of the very common misconceptions that there is in tech marketing, and that is that tech marketing is really difficult. So people or marketers who are in other industries are a little hesitant. They're very curious about tech marketing and they want to get into it, but they're still a little hesitant, thinking that they might not be able to fully grasp what it is and be able to, really give it their best shot. But what I would like to say is I would say it's different. It's not difficult, because if you look at marketing, some of the basics, no matter what industry you are in, will still apply. So you might have to do a little bit of you might have to do a little bit of learning before you can actually grasp it fully. But the good part about that also is that there are so many resources out there, whether you're trying to get certified in SEO or digital, or figure out what a content strategy is and so on. There's a lot of resources out there that will help you, and it is also something, just like any other form of marketing, you will be learning it on the job essentially. So you make a few mistakes as you go along. You will be doing write-ups and things that the first cut is just not going to be good, but it's okay. Just like any other form of marketing, whether you come from a services background or from a FMCG background or any other background, it will still take you a little bit of time. But the dynamics that you get exposed to in tech marketing are very, very positive, because you're in tech, that means the marketing that you do is also very tech centric. So the tools that you get to use, the strategies, everything is very modern and new. So that exposure is very good. So if you're worried about joining tech marketing, don't be. There are lots of resources to help you. There is a little bit of learning curve, but it's nothing that you cannot navigate. In terms of challenges in tech marketing, I would say this is something that I see all the time, both in startups and scale-ups. Again, this trend has shifted a little bit compared to maybe 2 or 3 years ago, is that you understand the importance for marketing. If you're, regardless of whether you're a startup or a scale-up, you know that your website needs to be good. You need to have content. Your brand needs to be consistent. You have to run events. But more often than not, there is one very overworked marketing manager or marketing executive sitting in these companies doing absolutely everything, right? And I see this time and time again. If you're lucky, some of these companies will have 2 or 3 people. If not, chances are that it is just one person running the entire show. Now, while this might work in the short term, let's say that you absolutely have a couple of marketing activities that you need to get out the door. So you immediately hire someone and say, hey, look, we need to get XYZ done, right? That's okay, but that's not sustainable. You cannot expect that person to keep doing that over a period of time. But very unfortunately, I keep seeing that. So at the end of the day, what you end up with is your marketing engine is not fully functional, because one person cannot manage socials and create content and optimize your content for SEO, update the website, go around and take pictures for social media posts. One person cannot do that. So the effort will happen, but they will not be the most optimal. Secondly, that person will also be overworked and burnt out and not feel like giving it their best. So the challenge I see here is that companies resort to doing this because they know marketing is important, but they don't want to make that investment in marketing. So you try to get everything kind of done from one person. So that again is where, and again, the frustration this person will also feel
is because more often than not, this is someone who is probably not very senior as well, maybe a couple of years in the industry. So they don't have anyone to mentor them or go to support, bounce off ideas. So they are kind of left in their own little shell to figure everything out and get things going, right? So this is also one of the areas where fractional CMOs and a fractional head of marketing can help, because you're there to be able to guide that person and even tell them, look, you have 10 things on your list, but you need to prioritize these 3 things. The rest, let's put together a calendar, let's even it out, and let's make sure that, we are not trying to accomplish everything at the same time. So this is a challenge, I think. And again, this challenge exists because the people with tech marketing specific skills are very hard to find, particularly in Sri Lanka, right? The skills for marketing in other domains are very, very prevalent, but tech marketing, and I would say even product marketing, is very difficult to find. Now you find the specialists, like those who are very good at SEO, those who are very good on the digital side, but finding sort of like a T-shaped marketer who's good in multi dimensions of tech is difficult to do. So people would argue saying that, but doesn't that mean that the person that you spoke of earlier, who's doing 10 things, can grow into becoming this full stack marketer or this T-shaped marketer? They can, but you also need to give them some room to specialize in certain areas as well. So then that way they are growing as individuals and as marketers, and the company gets the most benefit from them as well. So yeah, I think the misconception and the challenge actually both go hand in hand if you think about it.
Perfect. Such, it explained and detailed answer, but to the point. So, if I could ask you this question, so you have been working with different teams, mentoring and even, mentoring the marketing teams. What strategies do you find the most effective, if there is any concept that you would say, and what tips that you can, tell the viewers, especially the young people, to achieve these overall business objectives?
Right. So I think I just shared something yesterday, I think, about how you can build an optimal marketing team for B2B SaaS, right? So I think there are a set of roles that you absolutely need to have, because if you look at a company, let's take again the context of B2B SaaS, right? Like you have a product, you need to drive in inbound lead generation. There might be events you might want to sponsor. You want to create some content and so on. So even when I throw those words out, okay, content means you need a writer, right? Lead generation means your website has to be up to par. That means you need a webmaster. You need someone who's good with their graphics, because, if you're doing lead gen, that means you're going to rely on socials. So you need graphics for social. You need, again, in the context once again of B2B SaaS, you need a product marketer who can see everything from that, very high level scope. So I would say when you're building a team, a marketing team, this is something that I did in my last role as well. First, take stock of where the company is right now and where the company wants to go. Right now, if your brand presence is not consistent, if you don't have a proper website, if your lead generation is all over the place, if your assets are all over the place, then okay, the company is in this state. I'm actually doing sort of like a stages of marketing maturity assessment as well, with the basic one being foundational marketing and the more advanced being strategic marketing, which is focused on growth. So if you're at the level of foundational marketing, where marketing's job is just to keep the lights on, do a little bit of socials, do a press article here and there, maybe some content here and there, but you want to change it into marketing being more reactive and being a part of strategy, then you need to look at, okay, who are the people that need to come in to do this? If you have a product, you need a product marketer. If your product needs a lot of content, you need a content specialist. If you want to boost your digital presence, if you feel like both on the corporate branding front and on the employer branding front you're lacking, you need someone to manage your socials and make it their full-time goal to drive social media engagement. You need someone to make sure that the brand is consistent, right? Because when there's 10 different things happening, the chances are that you might not always use the correct value propositions. Your colors might go off a little bit there. So you need like a brand custodian to give a final sign off on everything that's happening. So think about where the company is right now, where the company wants to go. And once you make that assessment, you will know, okay, I need this person, I need that person, But That doesn't necessarily mean you need to have 10 roles sitting in-house. Again, there are certain marketing roles that have to live and breathe within the company. So those roles you bring in-house. Anything else that you can fraction or outsource, you do that outsource. You go ahead and outsource them. And then you can build an agile team. And obviously we live in a day and age where, hybrid models are very, they are the
Yeah.
thing of the present and the thing of the future as well. So there's nothing to say that, okay, if you have, if your marketing team consists of 3 full-time resources and 3 fractional resources, you can't bring that synergy between them. You absolutely can, whether it's through, your productivity channels or your tracking mechanisms or how you communicate, those can absolutely be done. But if you're in a senior marketing role and you're tasked with building a marketing team, look at, just to summarize, look at where the company is, where the company wants to go, what the gaps are from a strategy point of view, and then that will in line translate to the gaps from a talent point of view as well. And then once you figured out the talent that you need, you can go back and see how much budget you actually have. Figure out, okay, priority 1, in-house resources. Where do I find them? Priority 2, outsourced or fractional resources. Where do I get them? I build this team. And then, of course, teams are agile as well, right? You play along, you do maybe like a 6-month trial. If you feel that some of the outsourced resources will not work, you need to bring them in-source. You need to in-source them. By all means, go ahead and do that. Nothing is set in stone. That's something I realized very much through my last role and through practice as well. You have to be agile. You have to communicate to everybody else in leadership, especially if you're building a team from scratch, that the first 6 months will just be getting your house in order. So from an expectations and KPI point of view, also don't overpromise, because the first 6 months will mean a lot of putting together things in place and structure, and then you can get into actual performance later on down the line.
Amazing. So if I just could ask this, to match it to the current trends, marketing trends have been evolving for the past couple of 2 years, 2 to 3 years with AI, VR technologies and all the new technologies coming in. So from
Yeah.
that perspective, what do you see in the emerging trends in this tech marketing, and how these businesses should adapt, shift to the new views of tech with AI and stuff like that.
Sure. So I think AI is a little bit of a double-edged sword. I think, there's so many diverse opinions
The
about
same
it.
the same phrase you mentioned was mentioned by another podcaster who came into the guest. It's just
I see.
a
Okay.
double-edged sword.
It's great to know that, everybody is kind of on the same wavelength. But I think with AI, you cannot let AI do all the work for you. That's something I personally believe as well, right? I'll take a very simple example as ChatGPT. The output of ChatGPT will depend on the prompts that you give it. And the easiest tip I can tell you is, don't take the first thing that comes out of ChatGPT. It is not good. It is not going to be good. So you have to give the right prompts. You have to go through iterations, and don't rely on it just to do everything for you. It's there to support you. It's not there to take away your job, right? It's there to support you. But at the same time, look at being smart. Like, if you feel like, you are spending a lot of time on monotonous processes, or you're just unnecessarily putting to use productive time for things that are not productive, then use AI, use tools, right? If you're just doing a quick post for LinkedIn, and then you have 10 other writing jobs in hand, use ChatGPT and get something generated out fast. That's okay. But have your own set of best practices and guidelines. For example, what I follow is, I know ChatGPT uses a set of words that it always uses. So when I go and see social media content of large corporate brands and I see those words, I'm like, okay, ChatGPT is at work here, which is not a good perception for that brand. So have a discipline where you say, okay, I'm going to use ChatGPT, but here are some of the things that I'm going to avoid, right? I'm going to check the content and see if this is there. I'm going to check for plagiarism. I'm going to see if, I can actually understand this. Because if you can't understand something that's generated, chances are that your target audience is not going to understand it as well. So be smart about it. Don't let the tool do the brain power. You're the person with the brain, right? So get the support, get its help, but use your brain if I have to be very blunt, and then make sure that it's done and dusted, and you get quality output. And at the same time, with AI and with MarTech in general evolving, I think marketing teams, particularly small marketing teams, should invest in a good MarTech stack, whether it's using Trello to track team tasks, or whether it's using simple tools like Adobe Photoshop, so somebody who's not even very proficient in graphics can put something together. Whether if you're trying to build a website, then you need to have tools like SEMrush in place to make sure that you're optimizing for the right keywords. So something I believe in is that a marketing team or marketer is as good as the tools that they use. So tools are very important, and this is an ask for business leadership as well, because the difficult conversation that you have to have is, okay, you have 4 marketing people in the team, why do you need 4 tools? But the tools are meant to make the productivity of those team members better. So support if you're a CEO watching this, support your team, get the right people in, and at the same time get them the tools to help them, because right now there are tools that can do any number of things, from generating content to images to videos, what have you. But as a team and as a person, as a marketer, build your own discipline to make sure that you're not cutting short on quality just because you have a tool that's going to help make your life easier.
Amazing. So, just, maybe it can be a follow-up questions. If I ask you for businesses that who look to enhance their marketing strategies with all those tools, what advice would you give them, to use this technology and to stay competitive in the market? Every day, some marketers might focus on growth, some may be focused on numbers, different strategies they have. What advice would you give them?
In tech marketing also, there's a lot of FOMO, like fear of missing out, and I see this a lot on employer branding efforts, right? If you take a simple example, just like Women's Day, now it is an obligatory thing to have a Women's Day post and to give something to the female workforce and all of that, which is all fine. But I think what I would encourage, again, leadership and even marketing leadership, is whether you're doing things for employer branding or whether you're doing things for actual lead generation and awareness, do what works for your brand and what works for your customers, because you might be competing in the same space, but you might have a different value proposition, and there might be a different set of things why customers come to you as opposed to going to the competition. Your competitor might be a large scale mass market brand that everybody knows, but that doesn't mean that everybody has to know your brand as well. Maybe you're more niche, maybe you're more specialized, maybe your audience, maybe your customers like to work with you because you're not mass market, because you're just as the customer is selective of the vendor, you are also selective of the customer. Some customers like that, they don't like vendors who work with just about anybody, because there has to be culture compatibility, there has to be vision compatibility, all of that. So I would say, when you start out as a business, you know what you're trying to do, right? You know who you're trying to do it for, and you know why you're doing it. So stick to those guidelines when it comes to marketing as well. Don't get carried away with like trends or whatever is happening at the time. It will get you to a certain point, you get engagement on socials, but it's short-lived. So I would say is that a lot of trends come about. Be conscious about the trends that you pick. Make sure that it works for your customer, not just for your customers. Think of your community also, right? Your community is bigger. Your community might be your partners, they might be your future customers, they might be your future talent, future recruits. So look at how it will work for your brand. If it doesn't work for your brand, whether it's a new tool that everybody is using or whether it's a new strategy someone's using, if you're in B2B SaaS and everybody is doing free trials and you feel like you should do a free trial, but if you cannot work your product in a way that a free trial gives the most advantage, don't do the free trial, stick to the paid version. So I think these conversations actually go beyond marketing, more into business also. So even again, my ask from leadership is marketing will come to you wanting to do things that are trending and ask you to do free trials and free demos and free consultations and all of that. But look at what you stand for as a business, look at your customers, and then go down that path, take market trends into action, but always take it with a pinch of salt, so that you're not going down just the direction of the market trend, but you're picking the trends that actually make sense to you.
Perfect. Also, this question I've been asking throughout, all the episodes. If you could say to the younger generation or inspire the youth to come into the industry that you are in or the space that you handle, where would they start, and how should they, build up the journey so far for in the current world, and how is it going now?
So I think right now there are actually quite a lot of openings in tech marketing that I am seeing. Unfortunately, the openings are for those overworked tech marketers that I was talking about earlier, where one person has to do the entire thing. But having said that, I think you can start. There are so many places that you can start. If you're passionate about content, you can start as a writer or a content creator, period, right? If you're passionate about digital presence, then you can start with managing social media. You can start by learning a little bit about SEO and so on. And what I would say is this might be not the typical type of advice someone would give, but after you've got into tech marketing a little bit, try to also build your brand within tech marketing. Try creating your own content. It can be something as simple as top 5 basic tips if you want to optimize your website for SEO. So let's say you've been working on SEO for about 4-5 months as a new tech marketer, and then you learn a couple of things, right? So build your brand, because the tech marketing space, the tech space lacks tech marketers, if I were to just put it very simply. So if you build your brand, then there will be demand for your talent. So as soon as you start with the notion that, okay, I'm going to get to know this industry. And while I do my work in the corporate space, I'm also going to build my brand. So get in based on your passion, based on what you really like. Try it out. If you feel like it doesn't work, again, it's very agile. You can take a step back and figure out what you want to do next. But most importantly, document what you're learning, I would say, in some form, and then create content through what you have documented and what you have learned. Because platforms like LinkedIn, Twitter, even TikTok, you can use it to easily create bite-sized content and put it out there, and those will really help you build your brand as well. So for anyone curious about tech and wanting to come in, figure out the path you want to take based on what your passion is or what kind of work you've done earlier. Give it some time, try it out. If you have cycles, try out maybe 2 different things, not more than that. Maybe try socials and some content creation, since they go hand in hand. And document everything that you're learning somewhere. If there's an immediate thing that you've learned that you feel, you can do a very short video and put it on TikTok, or you can do a quick LinkedIn article. LinkedIn has an inbuilt AI feature, so makes it easier to get things out there. By all means, go ahead and do it. Tech marketing is a growing space. If you get in, if you do the homework, if you put in the effort, there's so much potential for you to grow, and so much that companies can really acquire from a talent perspective as well.
Amazing. So I think we are just coming to the end of the podcast as well, but just one more question to ask from you is that you mentioned that Sri Lanka is lacking, fractional CMOs, and more workforce towards the tech marketing industry. So if you have that final one thing that you could say towards Sri Lanka and the youth of Sri Lanka, what would it be?
So I think the dynamics of employment and teams are changing in general. I think it started with COVID, with hybrid working, and with in my consulting time, I've worked with clients. I've had very productive engagements, and I've never met any of them. But it hasn't hindered the relationship that we have. When I started, I started this new set of services again. I reached out to them. We still had good conversations. So it doesn't have to be the traditional way of working earlier. So my what I would say to companies is be open to new ways of working. Give it a shot. You don't have to get into long-term engagements immediately. Give it a shot and see. You will know then whether it works for you or not. Have very open conversations from the get-go, so you can figure out how to make the most of the engagement. And as someone who's starting on this path of fractional CMO and kind of fractional strategic marketing leadership, what I also try to do is I try to make it as flexible as possible for clients so that they get to know me, and then we can, kind of figure out how we move on into next steps. So in general, I'd say be open to new ways of working. There's a lot of benefits from working with fractional resources as well, based on how I've seen it, because they work with other companies and other industries, so you're more open to what's going on as well, right? But it all depends on how the synergies happen between the two. It could work, it couldn't work, but by all means be open to try. That's what I'd like to say. And again, just to reinstate, for aspiring tech marketers, there's a lot of resources out there. There's mentors who can help you, who can guide you if you're curious but you're still a little apprehensive because you feel it's difficult. Try. That's what I'd like to tell everyone. Try things out. You can always course correct if it doesn't work.
Thank you so much, Kushlani, for joining into the podcast. Means a lot. And despite your busy schedule, it's just inspiring to hear some words. And I think our youth who are listening to it will get so much content from this episode as well. Let's just share some final words on the podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rasal, for having me and for asking me to come. And I'm very grateful that I had the platform to speak about something that I'm very passionate about. I mean, I'm also still learning about it. I'm also still creating resources and material, because I feel like there's a lot of knowledge that needs to be created. So this has been great. Thank you so much. And I look forward to how people will engage with this. And all the very best to you as well.
Thank you. If there's anyone who wants to connect to you, is the LinkedIn platform open? They can reach you out on LinkedIn, am I right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
Anytime you can reach out on LinkedIn. I create a lot of content on the whole fractional space through
and
LinkedIn as
you
well.
are a top voice as well.
Yes. So if anyone wants to have a broader conversation, by all means reach out to me on LinkedIn.
I'll just link down the links down in the description as well, so it's easier for them to connect as well.
Absolutely. Fantastic.
Thank you so much, Kushlani. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Rasal. Thanks very much. Take care.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.